In Masters 25, the card Imperial Recruiter was reprinted for the first time ever. The card was originally from the infamous Portal 3 Kingdoms and had commanded a high price tag, at one time exceeding $300. Yet its inclusion in Masters 25, even with its rarity changed to Mythic, caused the price to plummet further perhaps than even Wizards of the Coast expected, as it soon became a $25 to $30 card, much to the delight of Commander players everywhere. Why is this noteworthy? Well, Imperial Recruiter and the aftermath of its reprinting is a prime example of Commander-only chase cards that command a high price tag, not because of play in multiple formats, but simply because of exceptionally low supply, likely through the fact that the card has never seen a meaningful reprint. It's also a great example of a card that should be targeted for meaningful reprinting. In many ways, you can argue that the price is artificially high. Well, more so than any price on any Magic card is artificial, in that it's just the invented value we ascribe to cardboard after all. But my point being that cards which see little or no play anywhere except in Commander will sometimes command, pun intended, a high price tag that can be brought down very dramatically with only a single reprinting. Thus, presented here are 5 cards that more or less only see Commander play, which have never been reprinted, and yeah, when you see their price tags, you might agree they really should be. Before we start, I want to specify my self-imposed rules for this list. I'm looking at cards that see play almost exclusively in Commander, so no, I'm not going to go on about how Mox Opals and Scalding Tarns are $100 each, and also, those cards have been reprinted, however ineffectually. So that also means I am not mentioning cards like Demonic and Vampiric Tutor, or even Toxic Deluge and Doubling Season, as those cards have all seen reprints, although they still command ever-growing price tags, and I hope we see them reprinted again, hopefully not at the Mythic level, soon. I'm going to begin my list at number 5 with a card that was shockingly absent from a Commander precon centered around Wizards, and that card is Patron Wizard. Patron Wizard is a card that, with the rarest of legacy oddball decks, is essentially only played in Commander and has never once been reprinted, commanding a price tag upwards of $15. For blue, another blue, and still yet another blue, Patron Wizard is a human wizard that you can tap, an untapped wizard you control, to counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. The best way to teach is by example, and what a neat ability and incredibly impressive artwork to boot. Why this was not reprinted in the amazingly appropriate Inala deck, I have no idea. Patron Wizard is such a great Commander card, slotting into wizard themes present in decks like Nabon or Azami, but it also is very well integrated into everything from Derevi decks to Rain decks to, in all honesty, a lot of decks that just run blue. Even my Merfolk deck under Sig runs predominantly wizards, Merfolk wizards. While Patron Wizard's price tag is not ridiculously out of control like some of the other cards I'm about to get to, this is an odd card to have been absent for so long from the many Commander accessories we've had over the years. But the price tag on Patron Wizard pales in comparison to our next card, a fun way to ramp in Red Tribal, the never once reprinted Mana Echoes. Mana Echoes is 2 generic and 2 red for an enchantment that reads, whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you may add an amount of colorless mana equal to the number of creatures you control that share a creature type with it. Wow! When the ground is saturated with mana, even the lightest footsteps can bring it to the surface. Entirely confined to Commander, this is a great example of a card from Magic's past that has a home nowhere else. But what a great function for the format. Red is seldom equipped for ramp, but has a lot of fun tribal strategies that can turn this into a bonanza of value. From Krenko Goblin decks to Ibhath Heart Goblins to that other Krenko. But this also comes in handy if you're looking at tribal commanders who have colors in addition to red, but no green ramp access. The Locust God in red-blue or the new Kaikar Wind's Fury are 2 that would love this card, but there's just so many more out there. And there's just so few copies of Mana Echoes to go around. It's never been reprinted, and it's over $30 each at the moment. A single reprinting would plummet the price of this otherwise corner case rare, and I hope that it gets that reprinting soon. So our next card is such a fan favorite that it speaks to its popularity since it is essentially not played anywhere these days except in Commander, yet I bet each and every one of you know of it and aren't going to go, oh, huh, that's a card? I didn't know that exists. You know it exists because it's so cool. That's the great thing about the format, though. Being able to take all your favorite cards from throughout Magic's history and, you know, sit down and play with them, despite them no longer being in Standard and not being Modern or Legacy viable. And our next card embodies that fully. The never once reprinted, but forever loved, except I guess by our opponents, Massacre Worm. Wow, was this card made for Commander or what? Massacre Worm, 3 generic and 3 black for a worm. When Massacre Worm enters the battlefield, creatures your opponents control get -2/-2 until end of turn. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, that player loses 2 life. So it has the fantastic ability which affects all your opponents and can swing games in your favor, especially when combined with something like a fun blink effect. Making a Dimir or better yet Esper blink deck can get deadly with Massacre Worm. But this card is popular in mono black builds as well, and of course every 2-color combination with black, but it's going for over $20 and rising, and this is the perfect target for a reprint that will make this otherwise unplayable favorite something that will be run in Commander decks for many games to come. So I have a special pair of cards that actually tied for the number 2 slot, and both of them are going for over $50 each. They're only played in Commander, and neither one has ever been properly reprinted. But really, since this is a video that's essentially about how far your dollar goes, I do want to take a moment right now to talk to you about a service that helped bring this video here to you today, because we're sponsored in part by the appropriately priced Dollar Shave Club. What I like about Dollar Shave Club is that they really have something for all your grooming needs. Shower, oral care, deodorants, but yeah, most importantly, shaving. Now you can get ready for an incredible smooth shave with their Shave Starter Kit. Check this out, an executive handle blades. It's very weighty, there's some real heft here, and high quality 6 blades. Also, this great Dr. Carver's shave butter. I like how it's transparent for a more precise shave, helps prevent ingrown hairs, and fights razor bumps. For a limited time, new members get their first month of the Executive Razor with a tube of their Dr. Carver's shave butter for only $5. After that, the restock box ships regular-sized products at regular price. Go to dollarshave.com/Tolarian to get your first starter set for just $5. All right, let's get right into it. Number 2 is a tie between 2 cards that cost over $50 each. I tied them and kept them at the number 2 slot because they have technically been reprinted, but only as special inventions. You know, the Ultra Mythics that appeared as lottery ticket cards in Kaladesh. And I don't think that really counts as a proper reprint. That's an extremely hard to get card that isn't adding to the supply really and is going more than the original. Both these cards are artifacts too, which means they go in countless Commander decks. And aside from those reprintings as inventions, they have never truly been reprinted in a meaningful way. And those cards are Scroll Rack and Rings of Bright Hearth. Rings of Bright Hearth are actually approaching $60 each right now, and there's a good reason. Look at this amazing card. For 3 generic mana, whenever you activate an ability, if it isn't a mana ability, you may pay 2. If you do, copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. The perfect combo enabler and original value engine. There's just so many decks and so many strategies to build around with these. I want us to return to Lorwyn just for a chance at a reprint of Rings at this point, though the fact that they showed up on Kaladesh as an invention says to me we could see our Hearth brighten on another plane, perhaps Eldraine. The Rings are of course tied with the Commander Classic Scroll Rack, reprinted as a Kaladesh invention and Commander's Arsenal, currently going for $59.99. While it sees some extremely rare legacy play, this is a Commander card through and through. For 2 generic mana, you get the artifact, and for 1 and tap, exile exile any number of cards from your hand face down. Put that many cards from the top of your library into your hand, then look at the exiled cards and put them on top of your library in any order. Honestly, if this card were not nearly $60 each, then it's something that just about every Commander deck wouldn't mind running. That's why I can't believe this hasn't become a mainstay reprint in things like Commander Precons or Reprinted to some relatively regular degree, just because this is a card that so many people want to use, but really can't unless they've got the money for the highly priced copies that are out there. Here's hoping that we see some scroll rack reprints soon, because if you haven't played with this in Commander, you're missing out. So what Commander-only card that's never been reprinted do I feel takes the #1 slot? Well, it's almost a meme at this point, but while not quite as expensive as our tied for #2 choices were, this card has never seen a masterpiece or any other form of reprint, and it just screams Commander. At $40 each at the moment, that card, yep, it's Oracle of Mul Daya. Oracle of Mul Daya, 3 generic and a green for an elf shaman. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. Play with the top card of your library revealed. You may play the top card of your library if it's a land card. While Oracle sees very rare play in Amulet Titan modern decks, really only played in Commander, and really amazing for anyone in green. I was among the many people that thought Lord Windgrace's deck last year would have been a fantastic spot for this to appear, or at the very least during our somewhat recent return to Zendikar. But sadly, we've seen neither hide nor hair of Mul Daya's Oracle. And it's too bad, because this is a really interesting, fun, and effective card in green. Nothing is worse in Commander than having a giant pocket of lands slowing you down for turns, and Oracle digs right through them while offering control over your draw. The only downside being your opponents do get to see what you are drawing, but I think that's a price that many of us would be willing to pay. It's a fun card for sure, and fantastic acceleration. Is this too big for Commander Precons at this point? Well, isn't everything? And yeah, I think that's the big question. If significant reprints aren't meant for Commander Precons, and by significant, yeah, I mean the cards that I have listed here in this video, then where are they going to go? How are they going to get reprinted in any meaningful way? These cards aren't even played in Legacy or Modern, and their inclusion in any Modern Horizons or Modern Masters product would be dubious at best. Block sets are certainly out of the question, and that pretty much rules out all reprint options. To me, seeing the great decline that a card like Imperial Recruiter went through, it would seem the best spot for a major reprinting of any one of these cards would be a Commander Precon. They're $40 now, $50 now, but the second it's revealed that they're included in that Commander Precon, the price is going to plummet, and that actually is what we want. Or perhaps is that too much to ask? So I'll turn the question to you. Where would you like to see cards like these reprinted, and what level of reprints should Commander Precons have? Let me know in the comments below, and remember, whether you're buying a Commander Precon or just a pack of Magic cards, when you spend that money, try and spend it when it's reasonable, when it is acceptable to do so, when it is convenient to do so, when it can be done in a fair way. Try and spend that money at your local game store. It's where you spend time playing Magic the Gathering, and in so doing, you're supporting your Magic community. Thank you. And this program was made possible thanks to a sponsorship from Card Kingdom, as well as the Patreon support of viewers such as you. So thank you.